Hi there, taking a minute to talk to you guys real quick. I apologize that I haven't been making new videos very frequently. I still occasionally get a message from somebody saying, "Hey, when are you going to make another video?" And time has just been getting away from me lately with the holidays and everything going, by so fast. And now here it is, January 18th, and I took a moment today to make this video because today is, I don't want to say a special day, but it's a profound day for me. So 1 year ago today, January 18th of 2018, was the beginning of the end of the pregnancy that I had with Gemma last year. So in case you haven't watched any of my other videos, or maybe you haven't watched the specific one, I think it's like my placenta previa pregnancy or something like that, that I have on my channel. That one goes into a little bit more detail. But basically, so I got pregnant the end of August of 2017, and by the end of October, so I was 11 weeks, and I started hemorrhaging, and I didn't know why. I thought I was losing the baby. I was all upset and went to the hospital and was told I had a low-lying placenta, which basically means that the placenta had implanted right on the edge of my cervix, and that's a very precarious place for a placenta to implant. So it's very easy to kind of get, put pressure there and get it to kind of like come detached a little bit, the placenta from the cervix and the uterine lining there. So they were like, baby is fine, but you have this low-lying placenta, and the bleeding should go away and you should be fine. But it didn't stop, and eventually, several weeks later, I was ultrasounded again at like 17 weeks, and at that point I had a complete placenta previa. So instead of the low-lying placenta kind of migrating up the back of the uterus to go up high where it should be, it went forward, which is where we didn't want it to go, but it was completely covering my cervix. Problem with that is, again, that placenta is right over that cervix. Baby can't get out that way. So if you have a complete previa and you're delivering, you have to have a C-section. Also, you're very prone to bleeding. Not every woman bleeds, but it's very common to bleed with complete previa. But even once it's completely across the cervix, there's still opportunity for it to migrate, even up to close to 30 weeks. But usually once you get past, I think like 26, 27 weeks, they say the chances of it migrating are slim. But in any case, I never stopped hemorrhaging. I bled every single day from 11 weeks to delivery. And the amount of bleeding just got worse and worse over that time. So I was hospitalized for 1 day when I was 19 weeks because it just suddenly got very heavy, and I was very worried. And it was probably, in retrospect, now that I know what I know, it was probably basically, there's lots of blood vessels in your uterus. It's not like there's one blood vessel that feeds the baby, feeds the placenta. I think that probably like one by one or several by several, these vessels were just kind of like being pulled away from the uterus. So the bleeding would kind of stay stable, and then bam, like it would get heavier and then never decrease because those vessels were open. So at that point, I was only hospitalized for a day when I was 19 weeks, and then I went home on full bed rest, and they said, this is pretty heavy, but hopefully it'll lighten up, and then you'll hopefully make it a while longer. And I was home on full bed rest for a month, and then January 18th, oddly enough, I switched my care. And I remember this like it was yesterday. So I had been seeing a midwife, and midwives can't do C-sections. And the doctor who worked with her was going to do my C-section if I needed one. And I met him the first time I was in the hospital for the 1 day, and I did not care for him. And I did not want to deliver at that hospital either because they don't have a level 3 NICU. So if I did have a preemie, I would not, she would be taken away from me, basically. She would be transported to a hospital that could handle a preemie. And my last baby before her was transported from that hospital for not being a preemie, but for other reasons. And it just about killed me when they took my baby away from me. So um, I was like, no, I'm going to go to a hospital where I like the doctor and they have a level 3 nursery. So I picked a doctor based on some recommendations I found online, and just I heard really good things about her. I knew a couple of people who had experiences with her, and also the maternal fetal medicine team at this hospital was by far a big draw. That they were really good, and I heard a lot of great things about their team. There's 3 doctors on their maternal fetal medicine team. Also, just the quality of the hospital itself, I heard really good things about them as a hospital, that they were really great. And I live about an hour in good traffic from Chicago, but this hospital is quite a bit closer, and the care level is the same as what you would get in Chicago, but without the distance. So I chose this doctor to be my OB, and on January 18th, I went to my first appointment with her. And, it was like a early afternoon appointment, but I was there a long time because there was a long wait to get in. And then also, once I got in, she was on the phone with the maternal fetal medicine doctor for so long because she told me that she was trying to figure out what to do with me because she wanted to make sure that there were any tests they were going to run. They ran the right tests. They did the right, make the right decisions together as a team. And she explained my history to this maternal fetal medicine doctor. And so I was there a long time. She was on the phone with him a long time. She was with me for a long time. It took a long time for me to get in. I was in the waiting room for a long time. So I was there a long time. I was on full bed rest. So I really parked my car and went in and just sat in the waiting room. And I mean, sitting, I suppose, is okay. They don't want you to move around a lot. But either way, I had been upright. I wasn't laying down. So I don't know if that's what did it. But either way, at the end of my appointment, I went home. And by then it was dinner time. And I was having dinner with my family, and I mean, like I said, not to be gross, but I was always hemorrhaging every day. But I knew like what amount was kind of normal for me, and I just suddenly felt this like kind of gush feeling, and I went to the bathroom and I flipped out because it was a lot. It was a lot. It just suddenly got like super heavy, and I was just terrified. 23 weeks and 2 days pregnant at this point, and my husband took me and all 4 of our kids to the ER back at that same hospital. So that hospital, luckily I had that appointment with her because they wouldn't have known me. They wouldn't have known my history. I'd never been to that hospital before, but only because I had that one appointment with her that day. Was the only reason that I could go to that hospital, and they knew who I was, and they knew like they had a chart for me because her records were all written from that day. And that day was the day that they admitted me, and they were like, "You're not going anywhere until you have this baby." So it was really scary, not knowing how many more days I would make it or whatever. And I just remember like every single day, different things happened to me, and I would be like, is today going to be the day? I would have a blood transfusion or maybe 2, depending on how low my hemoglobin was. I wasn't allowed out of my bed at all. I couldn't sit up past 45 degrees. I had to eat laying down. I had to humbly have bed baths by nurses and aides every few days because I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't bathe myself. The only time I was allowed to sit up was on the bedpan. My kids had to visit me, and I had some other visitors too, but it was very lonely, and just waiting and waiting and waiting, and a lot of praying I did, a lot of praying and reflecting, and trying not to think about it, the circumstance and how scary it was, but it was really scary. So there's a lot of emotion in me right now because, like I said, 1 year ago today, this is like that was the beginning of the hospital stay. And I delivered Gemma on my 22nd day by emergency C-section. So then I was there another 3 days after that. So 25 days total that I was in the hospital. But my Facebook memories are going to be reminding me every day now for the next long time about what happened on this day last year. And there's going to be some not so pleasant memories, pictures of me, receiving a transfusion, or my kids visiting me at the hospital or whatever. And then when Gemma was born, pictures of her and things that she was going through that were not so fun either. So for the next several months from today, January 18th, all the way till, she went home on May 21st. And right up until she went home, even, the week before that, she was having episodes of bradycardia. We had a discharge date that we got taken away from us because of her episode of bradycardia. That's when the heart rate drops, just in case you don't know what bradycardia is. But yeah, they won't send a baby home if the heart rate's not staying level. And she actually a couple times got discharge dates taken away from her for different reasons. And so even then, there's probably going to be like heartbreaking posts all the way up into May. So that are going to come in my memories anyway. So talk about the bleakness of winter and the stress that we just went through with the holidays being past me. And now here I am, like getting myself set into this like anniversary of something that, even though I have a beautiful baby because of it, it's something that I don't want to remember happening. If you watch my other videos, you know that I struggle with PTSD, and there's a lot of amnesia, like legit amnesia on my part about Gemma's hospital stay, because it's a defense mechanism. My brain, like, I want to remember certain things, and it's like, why don't you remember that? So weird. Why don't you remember that? Like that particular thing was such a big part of your life. But I think really my brain is like, no, you can't go there. Like, you can't go there. Just recalling the anniversary itself is very emotional for me. But now between now and February 8th, her birthday, there's going to be a lot of this kind of sad, reminiscing. And I know that some people might be like, well, just don't do that. Keep yourself busy. But I do think for my PTSD, I need to kind of go through it and be like, in retrospect, okay, now I know what this all happened, and here's where we are. And, as I said in other videos, that some people might be like, wow, she's not grateful. Look at her, she has her baby. Like, Gemma made it, and she's almost a year old now, and yay, like, why are you all so upset? Like, dude, if you feel that way, clearly you never tried to put yourself in my shoes, what it was like for me as a woman to not know if I was going to live another day, for me to not know when I was put under for my C-section if I would ever wake up. I lost 4 liters of blood in one day. Okay, so what would it be like for you, to do that? What would it be like for you to know you were going to sleep to have your baby taken out of you and not ever know whether you would see her alive? The fact that I made it and that Gemma made it is not it doesn't completely diminish the fact that these things were experienced by us, and it was extremely traumatic. So I have a legit reason, and I absolutely believe with every inch of my being that it does not make me ungrateful to allow myself to be traumatized by what happened, because I didn't choose to be traumatized. It's not like a bad attitude. It just is what it is. And regardless of whether or not Gemma and I made it or not, doesn't take away the fact that, we went through these really horrible experiences that most people don't have to go through experiences like this. So I'll probably be posting again in the future as I work through these days of anniversaries of my first transfusion, or anniversary of the first time I got magnesium sulfate, or whatever the case is. So stay tuned for some more videos, and thanks for watching. I appreciate your prayers and your thoughts during this time, and even your prayers and thoughts right now, but also all of you who were praying and thinking of me and Gemma and our whole family last year, and all the immense amount of help that we received. I still think of you, and I still think of people who did kind things, visited me, brought us meals, gave the kids rides, awesome teacher who made the kids lunches. If you're watching this video, you know who you are. We got so many gifts from people, monetary support, like rides to and from school, like taking the kids to, their extracurriculars, just amazing people that all came forward out of the woodwork to help us out. And I still think of all of you, so don't think that it's long forgotten. I still think of that. So you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.